All right, just as a quick review, the last thing we did is prepared this application to receive or to insert a new record. So you went to the storyboard, added a second segue by control dragging the little yellow icon from up here at the top over to there, and choosing another push segue. Because we're using pops to get back, we need to push to get over there. Otherwise, pop doesn't make any sense. Gave it a name. And then in the master view controller, added code to insert new object to simply push that or perform that segue. I took all the rest of the stuff out. Because we're not sending anything over there, the detail item is nil, and it displays a nice empty screen for us to put stuff into. So now we need to do in the detail view controller, when the user hits save, is distinguish between a new record and an existing record. In order to do that, these info and date objects are going to be defined differently. If the object already exists, then we just link it to the detail item like we did here. If they don't exist, then we have to create them, actually create this record in a database. Think of like hitting the star in Microsoft Access to create a new record for both of them, the details or the dates and the bank info. So because they get defined differently, I'm going to declare them up here. So I'm going to declare an info of type bank info and a dates of type bank dates, which means I can no longer define it here. At some point I think I get an error there because I'm redefining that variable. So here I now want to know, well, before I do that, my notes say take all this stuff out that's in here.
That would actually work because that is inside the if statement.
Yeah, but is it a different variable? It's the same variable.
It's local.
Oh, it's local. Okay. Yeah, I guess it would, except I'm not going to have any code underneath there then.
Seems to me, could you make it so instead of let info equal detail and just detail item 9 equal nil?
On the same line?
Instead of.
Instead of, yes, that's what I'm going to end up doing. The main reason is I don't know that I can put a not in front of this, if not let. What if this fails?
I mean not let, I mean just.
I know what you mean. All right. But what I'm saying is if I leave this the way it is and there's no errors here, all of this code is going underneath the if because I am transferring what's in the text boxes and date pickers, text boxes. I'm transferring all that into info and dates regardless of whether it's a new record or an existing record.
What I mean though is.
I know. Hang in there. All right. So I'm going to move all this stuff underneath the if. The only one that doesn't work very well is my dates definition. So right now my if is empty. And I don't know if I can unindent these. I don't know how to do it.
Square bracket.
What?
Command square bracket.
Command square bracket left and right, I guess, huh? Thank you. Okay, so this still has a problem. We'll fix that in a second. But what we first have to sort out is how do I deal with this? What I don't know how to do is I should be able to put an else on this, right? But the if part is empty. If this exists, we're pretty much done. Okay. So what I'm going to do is reverse my logic here and say if it doesn't exist. So if the detail item is nil. If it's nil, then I want to do some stuff. And I do still have an else that says info. Oh, because now that I've taken it out of the if statement, now there's an else. There's nothing transferring the detail items to the info, so now I need to do it here. Info equals detail items. And the dates equals the info dot dates.
I need an exclamation point on that. Well, I guess you shouldn't, because they're checking. No.
Detail item is optional.
You already checked it for nil. No, it's not.
But it's still got a wrapper around it because
Oh,
the let statement does the unwrapping into a unnillable variable. This one's still nullable.
Yeah.
So I have to unwrap it. Not sure about that one, but we'll see. Now the question is, what do we do here? This is the kicker, right? Because this is a new record. So we need to define one, create our new record. Actually, let's put those on separate lines here. You'd create a new bank record. And we're going to link that right to info. So info is going to be equal to an NS entity, where is it? NS entity description.
Square brackets?
No, old school. NS entity description. And this threw me for a loop yesterday when I was playing for this, and this was an hour debugging this. And finally, it was the new reference that solved it. I'm going to give this guy a little better credit here. Arlid solved it. Because there is no NS entity, so I spent hours trying to figure out how do I get, why don't I have an NS entity here? I do everywhere else. And so I was doing a little brainstorming, and I'll share the brainstorming with you just very briefly here. I went over here and said, oh, this has a fetched results controller, and that's where this entity seemed to be coming. Uh-oh, how do I don't have a fetched results controller in my details view. Uh-oh. Well, luckily, Arlid gave me the answer, and it's so simple that it's almost painful. I need to import core data into here. This class does not know about core data, and that's where the NS entity description is coming from. So that one line is the solution to an hour's worth of research.
Always goes that way, doesn't it?
Sometimes it's 6 hours of research, yeah, but it generally takes a long time to find a one-line answer. So now my NS entity description is available. And my NS entity, I want, entity description. Come on. Dot, I want to insert a new object. New object for entity for name. I don't know why it says for entity. That's a goofed name. Just whatever's on the list.
It's not populating the list at all.
Did you add the core data up there?
Yeah, no, all class, I haven't had any intel since.
Oh. So NS entity description. Insert new object for entity for name, parentheses. In here, it's looking for a string. That's the name of our entity that we want to create. In this case, that's a bank info. Let me actually, yeah, let's split here so maybe we can see. It doesn't really help much. Okay, there we can see better. And then which context? Now we have a context. Remember, the context points back to the app delegate, which is managing the context store. So here's my context, and I'm adding, even though I'm not anywhere near the database here, I'm adding an entity for this, or adding a record for this entity. So context goes in there. We already defined the context, so we could save to it. Now we're using it to create a new object. Not only that, we need to create another one. And this is a new, I should put parentheses in there, empty bank record. And then we create.
Cast it as bank info.
Good idea. Thank you. Did you see that in my notes?
No, popped up with an error. It said
Oh, okay. Good. All right, then we need to create a new empty dates record and make our date pointer, this one up here, point to that. And Justin, you want to steal this, so does everybody else. Change bank info to bank dates in 2 places.
Do you need to create both of those? Can you use the
Yes, you have to create both. You have to create them so that there's room to put stuff in there. Okay, we are going to link them together. We still have to do that, but now it's kind of like I have data in 2 different tables. Well, you can't just create a record automatically in the child table by creating one in the parent. So you do need to link, you need to create them both. And then once they're created, we can link them together. So now at this point, I have info pointing to either a new record, dates pointing to a new record, and I have info and dates, or I have info and dates pointing to an existing record. And the last error is down here. Dates equals info dates.
You're in the bar.
No, what I need to do is tie this into that.
Are you ready to declare?
All right, so this one, let's take it away for right now.
should I need that
Right.
to do?
Yeah, I need, these 2 are not tied together yet.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here dates is pointing to the corresponding record over there. But what I haven't done is tied the 2 together. I think the best place to do that's up here. Info.dates equals dates. So here I'm saying the date pointer in the info record, make it point to this date record. Tie those 2 together. Because remember, this is just a relationship. If I named it well in the first place, I would have called that relationship dates. Make this relationship point to that record so that the 2 records are tied together. Then transfer everything off the form and still save the context. This created 2 new entities, added them to the context. This says save the context, so everything is there forever.
Don't you establish the relationship either way in the else, in the if statement and in the else statement?
We did. Do I need to define it both ways here, or does it automatically happen? I haven't used it in the other direction, so I don't know.
I'm saying, should it be outside the if statement since it happens every single time?
Here it's the other way around. If I did it down here, it would be okay. And in my sample program that I have sitting over here on my laptop, I did this outside of the if statement. But I don't think I need to, because there, the relationship here, the relationship already exists. And here I'm defining a relationship. If I do it down here, it's redundant. I'm saying, hey, info of an existing record and existing dates, here's link to this record. It's already there. Once you define this relationship here, it's there forever. The relationship is defined. So I think it's a little better here because it's really superfluous down here. If we're saving existing record, that relationship already exists.
So line 49 and 55 are not the same then?
No. Here's the 55 that he's talking about. They're reversed, if you notice. Okay. What this one does is define the relationships to an empty record. This one defines a variable, okay, and say make it point to the same thing as my supporting record, an existing one. So these two are empty and we're linking them together. Here we're grabbing existing data and pointing to it. Very subtle difference.
It's an update and an insert, right?
Pardon me?
It's an update and an insert.
This one's an update. Yep. That one's an insert. And it does, the save does both. Fingers crossed.
When I tried to save it, it brought me to a file I haven't seen before.
Aha,
So I just
good.
closed it.
Good.
Oh, that had Objective-C.
Mm-hmm.
I have-
Several of you are running ahead of me here, so let's wait for mine to catch up. Build succeeds, and at some point it's going to fail. I'm going to add a new record.
Mine, it added the record, but it didn't. After I did.
Is that gonna work?
Why not?
Because the format you have it in, read from it.
Oh, yeah, the format was the other way, wasn't it? Gonna have to put that in as a placeholder. Okay, then I hit save, and according to you guys, it's gonna crash. There we go. This is what I wanted to get into the recording because Adam has taught me a long time ago, and hopefully you all have heard it. This is assembly language. I'm guessing for Objective-C. This is assembly language. Once upon a time, I coded in this. I haven't seen it since, and I couldn't code it, and if I paid it, well, I could if you taught me, but all long gone. When you see this, it's an Objective-C can't link to our new Swift classes problem. So if I stop the application, the one that I haven't put the Objective-C on, we already did it for bank info. We added this Objective-C statement to it because we couldn't get it to even display without that. But we never had any trouble with the dates. And so we didn't add it there, but now it's being added there. And if I look at my error message down here, it does say bank dates, unable to load the class named bank dates. Why would you not be able to load it? As Adam said, it's right there. Look, it's, what's the problem? The problem is we need to link it to Objective-C classes by adding the Objective-C statement to that. And Arlen did have some kind of a description there, but he went so fast I could hardly get my head around it. But basically, this allows us to call this class or reference this class from Objective-C classes that must be doing it with core data right now, at least to this point. At some point, we might be able to get rid of this, but you just put the same name in here, bank dates, as you had before.
Oh, you do an @ sign.
So this name and this name are identical. This says in Objective-C, this class is called bank dates, and Swift is called bank dates. And now any old Objective-C methods that are out there that need to reference it can get at it. And that should solve our problem. Now, Nick was also implying that it actually saved my record, but crashed.
Save, but
Did it
when
save?
you did it,
Doesn't look like it.
Mine works.
It let me add it and go to the master view, but when I try to edit it again, it crashed.
Well, because my test bank wasn't even there. Now, you may have added the @ bank dates ahead of time. So let's find out if this works. Save. There's my test bank. And Nick said he had trouble when he went to edit it. I was so happy to get it there that I quit last night. So I haven't done this before. If it breaks, it's your fault.
Okay. Yep.
Mine's not showing up at all.
Mine works.
What did you do?
Yeah, mine works too, so I don't care if yours does.
Okay, I think
Remember, as Justin taught me, that you need to make sure these dates are in long date format. So our placeholder for that should be there with that format so that the dates are entered in that format. Some of you are doing validation. That all gets snuck in here before we save, right?
So how would you get to that? Like, if it's,
How would I get to what?
how would you validate it?
How do I validate it? I would write a validation method. Okay. First of all, I might include some of that in these classes instead. So as I'm adding things to them, if there's any errors, it throws exceptions, but we haven't got into exception handling in Swift yet. So for right now, the easy answer is you write a method down here called validate that returns a true or false. And then at the beginning of this, before I do anything else, I say if validate, then do all this, else skip it and display an alert.
Well, if you do it there, won't it still perform the segue?
Not if I put the segue inside the if. Segue's right there.
Oh,
Segue doesn't happen. All we did is created a button that says do the segue. Unlike the before where it said master back arrow and you clicked on it. All right, we've overridden that one. So this seems to work. The only other thing we need to worry about is delete, but I'm pretty sure my notes say, I haven't tested this, but my notes say that we have delete capability built in right here. And notice it's using the context. It deletes an object from the fetched results controller, and it does the context save just like we did before. So I'm guessing delete already works. Didn't really need to run it again or build it again. So here's my test bank. Okay, cancel that. But if I edit it, it's gone. All that was built in for us. So now you have the ability to create a persistent data store that will stay with your app as long as you don't delete the app. The data will be retained. Again, for the homework assignment, if you wish, you can do your own. You do not have to import an existing database. You can create your own and create your own data structure. And one of the first things you're going to have to write is the insert routine. So you're going to have to kind of do this backwards from the way we did it here and write the insert routine first so that you can add records to the database and see them showing up in your grid. Or you can use my existing Congress database. And as I said earlier, I actually tested these insert save commands on the Congress database because I didn't have this one handy, and it seemed to work fine there. I will warn you that Brittany's had a little trouble getting the Congress database to come in, but I have not. So if you follow the steps we've been doing in these recordings, you should be able to take my existing Congress data and bring it in. There's a few challenges out there. All of it due on Wednesday unless you want a shot at an update, then get it to me by Friday. But most of you in this class are stable enough that if you got 18 out of 20, it wouldn't affect your A in the class.
It affect my pride.
I can't help your pride.